here for a number of reasons. So I run a podcast called We the Poets, and James has featured on it a bunch of times. I was just saying, we get lots of messages about his work. So it's been nice to see James perform live. Beth is part of Wragg Club, so go to the Amy, who I've known from way back in the day, and also just been performing gigs, because to be honest, I probably perform gigs for adults these days. I probably less than 5 a year. I just do kids stuff all the time. But the main reason I'm pleased to be here is that I live in Peterborough, and I'm not there. I'm here right now. Has anyone here ever been to Peterborough at all? Yeah.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad. That's the new slogan we're going to put that outside the Waitrose, I think, now. So, I think I first moved to Peterborough, must have been about 17 years ago. I moved there to start my first job as an English teacher. And the first thing I saw, it was pre-Waitrose time, right? So first thing I saw as I came out of Peterborough train station was 3 boys standing outside the train station. It was getting pretty dark, and they were kicking around a cardboard box that they'd set on fire. And I remember looking at it thinking, this isn't, it's not like Bath, is it? I'm not sure if I'm going to like it. And now I've been there for many years. I didn't know what else to do, so we started an open mic night on a barge called Charters. We called it Planet Poetry, and I did that for a year, and I reached a level of local fame. I became the poet laureate of Peterborough, and it meant I got to go to the big events like the Sausage Summer Supper with the mayor, and I would read poems. And basically, I did this for a few months, and no one ever listened to what I said. And the mayor said to me one time, she said, maybe you could just start off by reading a love poem to the city, just to show how much you care about the city. And I thought I could try it. I tried to write a sonnet. That would be the kind of form to go with. But I realised it didn't really work. The love I have for Peterborough, certainly at this point, isn't the kind of love you have when you're in a new relationship and everything's super exciting. It's more the kind of love you've got when maybe you've been in a relationship too long, but you've got a mortgage now, so you can just stick it out and see how it goes. So if it's all right, I thought it's a super old poem, but I'll start with that, because at least it tells you a bit about me and what I wrote. It's called Come to Peterborough, and you should, and it goes like this. Come to Peterborough, a city of unusual beauty. Houses so cheap we don't pay stamp duty. It's even called the posh, but believe me, they ain't snooty, because they still head out to Liquid when they want to shake their booties. Come to Peterborough, the birthplace of George Alcock, MBE. No one knows who it is. Well, we've got 4 environmental cities thanks to our greenery. You can eat out at Nando's, taking a play at the Key and enjoy the slightly sexist writing in a copy of our ESP. Come to Peterborough for romantic nights at the dog track, or walks in Surrey Woods. We don't have a university, though we know we probably should. The connecting trains to London are really pretty good, although our multicoloured bin system is poorly understood. Come to Peterborough and see Longthorpe Tower, protected by law. Why have one local radio station when you can have 4? The regional college doesn't offer A-levels anymore. I'm even IKEA distribution centre, but no fucking store. Come to Peterborough. Let the Evening Telegraph's reporting fill you with apprehension. Revel in the barbs of our racial tension. Our vibrant range of pound shops, they do deserve a mention. The shopping centre ain't big enough, but we're building an extension. Come to Peterborough. There are plenty of places for you to go out and dine. The cathedral looks amazing when it's bathed in the sunshine. So what if our manufacturing is currently in decline? Come to Peterborough. Please. Come to Peterborough. It ain't always a pretty city, but it's mine. Cool. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you so much. Gosh. Even as I perform it, you go, that's changed now, that's changed. So it's all right, what I thought I might do tonight, because so that intro is crazy. There's lots of weird things, you forget you've done some things sometimes. At the moment, I've been doing stuff for kids all the time. I have these books, picture books for kids and stuff, right? So it's all this kind of stuff. That's what I'm doing all the time. And so I visit schools all the time. So I thought maybe tonight, if it's okay, I can do one of 2 things. They don't want to hear poems about teaching, and they don't want to hear the poems that are too rude for me to perform in schools. Those are kind of 2 things. So I can either perform you a set now that is about what teaching is like, or I can perform just all the rude things I'm not allowed to perform in schools. Yeah? Should we make some noise, please? Okay, make some noise for the teaching. Wow. Don't blame me, don't blame me. There's no audience for it. It's like, make some noise for the rude stuff.
Yay!
Amazing. Okay, so I don't ever get to do these. So the first choice you have is I can either perform in home, I can never perform in schools because it's a bit too sexy. There's a bit too much sex in it. The other option is it's about drugs. Right? So your choice at this point in the night is you can either go for sex or drugs. Both. Oh, what a night we've got. Let's go. Let's see what we go with first. Make some noise for sex. Okay, make some noise for drugs. There was a bass guitar and there was one person at the end who was coming down. I think he just went, at the end. We'll go drugs. So this is a poem about the first time I kind of really tried to take drugs. It's a true story. I grew up, like I said, in Bath. I mean, I kind of grew up in Keynsham. If you ever know Keynsham, it's between Bath and Bristol. You effectively say you're in Bath when you want to, in Bristol when you want to, and it's kind of like you're in the middle of the two, right? But when we lived down there, we were really into grunge, and the phrase for someone who's into grunge back in the day was like a jitter, right? That's what we called jitters, because of this. When I was 17 years old, I was called a jitter in my hometown. Now, jitters were guys who are renowned for our frowns and our interest in the post-grunge sound. With dyed hair and purple DMs bound tight, below shredded jeans and rock t-shirts, we thought we looked alright, and we found that looking alternative could get the girls a little bit flustered. Something that was later to prove very popular for busted. So we cultivated a look similar to the modern day emo, just more well adjusted, with red and festival bands the colour of mustard and our bright studded gloves. We looked dangerous and morose, being followed by security as we moped about in Waitrose. And while we sat on the swings and we smoked our roll-ups, we sipped on cider, we moaned about grown-ups, and we talked about girls and the bands that we liked, and the plethora of heavier drugs we should try. Because we all listened to music, and we all read Kerrang. To us, artists and drugs, it sort of went hand in hand. Every artist we rated celebrated their blazing on festival stages, or else they'd rage against them in interview statements, complain that it aged them. Even that sounded great. We just wanted a way in. But it was frustrating, like some really bad joke. The dealers round our way were nastier blokes, skinheads in puffer jackets. You'd get smashed to a pulp if you, as a jitter, tried blagging some dope. So each night we talked highs, just how much we lusted for some kind of drug, until Chen mentioned nutmeg. That's right, nutmeg is a drug. He printed off from the net details of its psychedelic effects, plus a comment that one trip could be better than sex. And I have to confess, we were really impressed as guys who hadn't tried either of those yet. And so we swooped on our spice racks, scooped up supplies, we met with each other, we pulled our resources, we created the lot, we filled empty bottles of Robinson squash with the pieces, used water to top it all off, we did up the lids, and we swiftly took off. And we ran to the witches, we sat on the stumps, we opened those bottles, and fuck did they hum. We weren't giving up upon what we'd begun. We held noses to thumbs, proceeded to chug for about 30 seconds. And then we began to throw up. A lot. And as we threw up, we spluttered and roared, chucking up chunks of nutmeg on us all. Eventually, each of us gripped to the floor, heaving until we couldn't heave anymore. And as we all lay there, we spluttered and chatted of how we might die, our faces all plastered on each other's vomit, the nutmeg and acid. It felt like an age, just 2 hours had passed. And then it wore off. We washed in the river. We each headed home to safety and dinner. And I'm a lot older now. I don't want to spoil it with too many details. I've hugged a few toilets. I'm aware of the hard stuff, choose to avoid it, still drink, sometimes smoke, sort of enjoy it. My mates are grown too. Some have moved on to bigger things. They have serious jobs now, yet they seem to take everything. Yet some won't touch drugs, some won't touch medicine, and some are a mess from the way drugs have messed with them. I met with one good friend the other day. He told me he'd give anything to go back to the point where only nutmeg had tested him. Thank you very much. Cool. Right. What should we do? Should we do the, can I read you like the worst poem I've ever written? Because it's just so bad, it's offensive as well, so you just that's alright, cool. So here's so there's a bit of a story with this, if it's alright. I do a lot of storytelling, so if you don't mind, I'll explain what happened. I was teaching, my headmaster called me into the school one day and he said, Mark, have you ever thought that maybe you're not meant to be a teacher? And I was like, what? And he's like, I've heard about these rap battles in nightclubs and stuff, and he's like, you're doing all this stuff, like, have you ever thought maybe you're a poet? And I was like, oh, my mum said it wasn't a job and stuff. And he was like, well, it might be, right? The kids didn't think you're good at it. Like, well, I tell you what, hold your job open. Why don't you try and be a poet? And if you fail, come back. Like a failed poet's an interesting character to have in the English department anyway. It'll be fine. So I was like, okay, cool. So I handed in my notice. I was ahead of 2 year groups. I was on about like, I've got a bit of money, and my parents, they had a meltdown. The whole family thought I'd lost my mind. I started trying to be a poet, find out very quickly it's quite hard to get paid for something that there's no material cost, right? You just make something out of words and you say it's worth something. And my first month, I wasn't making any money, I was really struggling to pay the bills. Second month, I did twice as many gigs, still not paying the bills. Third month, I got a message for a gig in Peterborough at the Waterstones. Apparently no one was going in there. And they said, like, you can a 3-day job, there's no money, but it would be great exposure. I was like, okay. And so I went in, the deal was this. They said, if you sit at a desk, anyone who comes in the bookshop will put a sign on saying free poems. And whenever they come up to you, they tell you what the poem about. You get 10 minutes, write them the poem, and then you read them the poem in the bookshop. And if they're there for 10 minutes, then they'll buy a book, right? We'll get it in another paper. And I was like, I had nothing else to do, and everyone thought I was wasting my life, so I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. I turned up, they put the sign out, they opened the door. First guy came up to me, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm a poet, I'm writing poems. What would you? And he's like, you're a poet? And I'm trying to be, like, what would you like a poem about? And he said, can it be about anything? And I was like, anything. And he said, could it be about a mechanical Hitler? It's like really? And he's like, yeah, in a battle with Godzilla. And I was like, how would I go? So I wrote it, and then he went off, and after 10 minutes I read him the poem, and everyone was standing around, and I read it to him, and it wasn't very good. And he just stood there and looked at me, and he said, do you want to take the poem away? And he went, no, you're right, put it in the bin. And I was like, so I put it in the bin. The next woman came up to me, said, like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm a poet, I'm writing poems. And she's like, you're a poet? I was like, oh, I'm doing my best. Like, what would you like a poem about? And she said, my grandmother is terminally ill. She's got about like a week left to live. Could you write her a poem that shares all the things that I want to say to her, before she passes away? And I was like, I've got 10 minutes, I'll have a go. So I started writing the poem, and then she came back and I read her the poem, and do you know what? She said she liked it. And I said, oh, cool, do you want to take it away? She said, yes, thank you. And I thought, oh, that's nice. But then, when I had my lunch break, I went to the front of the shop, and I saw the poem was in the bin in front of the shop. So she hadn't liked it, it had been really bad. And that's what it's like for 2 days. Third day, it was just a bad poem. I was like, oh, I'm such a loser. What am I doing? When you're a teacher, like a minor celebrity, if I had a haircut, it was a big deal. Now it's like, nothing matters. I'm writing poems, no one cares. Go on the third day, guy goes, can I have a poem about a velociraptor on a hoverboard? I'm like, yeah, it's just bad. And then this woman comes in, and she's really fit. And I'm sat there going, like it's falling apart at the desk. And she goes, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm a poet, I'm writing poems for people. And she's like, you're a poet? Yeah. And I said, I don't know what a poem's supposed to be. That's what I am. I think, I'm trying to write poems, what would you like a poem about? And she said, can it be about anything? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, look, my hair, I'm going to dye it. It's red, and I'm going to dye it a different colour. Because guys don't really like it. And I'm single. And I was like, okay. And then she said, could you write me a poem about all the different colours I could dye my hair? I went, yeah, cool, okay. So she went off around the shop, and I started writing the poem, and if I'm honest with you, I was just like, just let this one be good, like if this one's good, it's not being too bad. And then she came back, and I was like, can I have a couple more minutes? And she came, can I have a couple more minutes? And then in the evening, she's like, no, I need to go back for my lunch break, can I just have the poem? And I stood up, and I read her the poem, and I wish I'd kept it, because I think it's probably the worst poem I've ever written in my life. Every line was really bad. Like, there were people around her, there's a crowd right now, and they didn't know each other, but they were looking at each other, because the one thing in the world they had in common is they all agreed the poem was bad, right? Every line was like, and I finished the poem, and it was complete silence, and then she said, are you sure you're a poet? And I said, I don't know, I'm trying, I'm not very good at this, I can't do it in 10 minutes, if I had more time, I'd be better. She went, no, it's good, she's smart, she said, how about this? She said, I'm going to be outside the Met Lounge on Friday night at 11 o'clock, in 2 days from now. Why don't you rewrite the poem? If you're outside at 11 o'clock, you can read me the poem in the queue. And she smiled and I went, oh, okay, she'll have the shot. And so I was like, well, I'm not getting paid for this. I'm just going to go home. So I just packed up and I went home and I worked on the poem. And by Friday, I got it kind of together. And I phoned my mates and I said, there's this girl, she's really fit, she says I can read a poem and thing. And my mates were all like, yeah, wicked. So we go to Charters, we're having a pint, and I'm all nervous, I'm checking my papers, and they go like, it's going to be really good. And I was like, she's going to love it. And I'm like, I don't know, man, you didn't hear the first one, it was really bad. I mean, we leave the pub and we get to the club, and it's really busy. It's like 1 in, 1 out at the club. And she's in the queue with all her mates. And as we get there with the papers, and her mates start going, is that him? Is that him? Is that the poet? Yeah, are you the poet? You got a poem for our mate? And then all my mates start going, yeah, he's got a poem, it's going to be amazing, it's going to be brilliant. And then, so everyone in the queue is going, this guy's going to read her a poem, he's going to read her a poem. So every time I'll read you that poem, and then you can see how it went. And I think it's the worst poem I've ever written as well. I think like I've got hold of, and I can remember. So here's the thing, have you got any redheads here? She's a redhead. We have. I just worry this is inappropriate to do it to a woman. I normally recite someone, not in front of a man in the audience, because it's a bit less creepy. I can direct it. Yeah, what's your name? Lou. Yeah. Hi, Lou. Okay, so, all right, Lou, if it's all right, I'll direct it to Lou as if it's to her. So here's the thing. Everyone gathered around. She smiled a lot and she laughed a lot as I was talking to her, and I thought she had a great sense of humour, and I thought I'm going to try and make her laugh. So what I thought is, instead of going, all the colours you can change your hair to, I would go, oh, I think your hair's really fit, and like, you're amazing, right? So I called it, you are the hottest of all of the gingers. And because I wanted to make her laugh, I really got this idea. I was like, I thought I would try and find the worst possible rhymes for the word gingers. And they get worse and worse and worse. So if you think you can spot the bad rhymes, you can have a little smug smile to yourself or chuckle yourself, but they get really bad. I haven't performed this in ages, Luke, so I'm sorry. We'll try it. So everyone was, I'll explain what happened after, but everyone's kind of gathered around me. And it started like this. Aristotle claimed redheads were emotionally unhousebroken. They've always been thought to be somewhat outspoken. The Greeks would even chop off scarlet heads for fear became vampires once they were dead. A lot is said about redheads is totally nonsense, designed to make you feel like your hair is a hindrance. I'm here to say that's stupid. You are certainly no minger. Yeah, it's so much more. In fact, Lou, you're the hottest of all of the gingers. You can say what you like, but my passion's indignant. I long for that skin with that little less pigment. Oh, coils of red springs you tuck back behind ears, get back Roman hordes, give me Boadicea. Oh, handling men's hearts like a fireball with teeth. So much red on that head and still red down beneath. And even when munching on pancakes from Findus, you are the hottest of all of the gingers. Your hair resembles a blaze of my porcelain. Each flick of red tip I find totally awesome. When it comes to those curls, be proud, don't regret it, because studies have proved you need more anesthetic. Yes, power and beauty both live in your blood. Plus it's easy to spot you late night in a club. Almost as rare as that list what was Schindler's. You are the hottest of all of the gingers. Springsteen said it takes a redhead to get a dirty job done. Well, the world's pretty grubby, so we need more than one. Don't be boorish, they're Moorish. Come, bring on a truckful. We'll accept that it means we get stuck with Mick Hucknall. It's a small price to pay for hair so fresh branded. And I'm not alone in wanting to be caught out red-handed. I'll munch on red cinders when I'm into cunnilingus. Because you are the hottest of all of the gingers. So get back, all you girls in your summery thongs, unless the curlies are merging as strawberry blonde. Until blondes and brunettes have a great deal of fun. They don't need an umbrella when they go out in the sun, but we stay inside till we both had our fall. That joke will snatch a red rag to a ball, and when we're done and it's over, the thought of you lingers, because you are the hottest of all of the gingers. Thank you.